Hey guys, welcome to a new video. Like, comment and subscribe if you enjoy. Without any further interruptions, enjoy the what if. The date. Naruto was nervous. He was going on the first date of his life, and it was with 4 women. Most men in his position would be boasting. He however wasn't most men. He stayed silent. He had taken the day off of training from his team in the kunoichi. There were a lot of things for him to do for his date. Not that he neglected his training. He sent multiple clones out to practice. Some in Genjutsu with the scrolls Kurenai left. Some in the katas Yugao had showed him. Find something for each kunoichi to enjoy. Find places where he wasn't hated. Find out how to act on a date. Get advice on what to do for the date. I need serious help. Advice. Who can I go to? Should I ask the Ichiraku family? No. How about the old man Hokage? No, he's a pervert, I've seen those books. There's always Iruka-sensei. 10 minutes later and he was in front of his old academy. It seemed his teacher was giving a lecture. Oh, how I hated those. Deciding to spare the kids the pain he went through, he entered. Hey Iruka-sensei, I need your advice. He called. Naruto. He asked, shocked. I'd love to help you but I'm a bit busy with class. He looked at the class of children. They were either sleeping from the lecture of talking. Deciding to be honest to his teacher, he said, Sensei, you've lost them. Just tell me what you need. He said, annoyed, why does nobody like my lectures? Dragging his former teacher outside, he said, I need dating advice. Now Iruka had to admit that he was shocked. It didn't mean he would show it. He was after all both a ninja and a teacher. What do you need to know? He asked. Not even taking a minute to think, Naruto simply said, everything. Flowers. Yamanaka Flower Shop. Hello. Greeted Ino. Welcome to the Yam, Naruto. What are you doing here, Baka? He did his best to ignore the insult. I'm here to buy flowers for my date, he stated. I'd like to make a good first impression. Who would go on a date with you? She asked. I bet you just annoyed Sakura until she said yes. I am not going on a date with Sakura, he stated. He really didn't want to deal with a fangirl. I just want to buy some flowers and leave. Fine. She sneered. What do you want? I want 4 bouquets, each mixed with red and black, pink, orange, and white. One for Anko, Kurenai, Hana and Yugao. Great, now I have to tell you what they mean, she sighed, annoyed. You probably just chose them for looks anyway. I know what they mean: red love, black the beginning of new things, when not death, pink elegance and refinement, orange warm vibrant tones, white humility and innocence. Ino was in shock. Not only had Naruto of all people picked out flowers, but he actually knew what they meant. How does someone like you know what they mean? She asked. Can I have my flowers? He asked, ignoring the question. Why would you need 4? She asked. Are you cheating on somebody? You are, aren't you? She accused. Probably some poor civilians who you lied to and said you did all the stuff Sasuke-kun did. How is Sasuke-kun? Has he mentioned me? Enough, he roared. I'm not cheating on anybody, he stated. I just want to buy my flowers for my dates. If you want to talk about the Uchiha, then find Haruno. Baka, she shouted. You should treat me with respect. I'm heiress to the Yamanaka clan and I don't have to sell you anything. She stated, but wasn't finished. And you are just a nobody. What is going on here? Asked a new voice. Ino and Naruto looked toward the source of the voice. It was Inoichi Yamanaka, Ino's father. He had been watching from the beginning. Your daughter refuses to sell to me, stated Naruto. He knew Inoichi had been watching, and she constantly insults me. But he's a nobody, she stated, trying to defend himself. And what are we Yamanakas without the Nara and Akamichi clan? He asked. I apologize for my daughter, the flowers are free. Not wanting to wait a second longer, Naruto grabbed his flowers and left. He had 4 different dates to prepare for. Remember everything Iruka-sensei told you and you'll define. Who does that Baka think he is? Seethed Ino, getting me in trouble with daddy. I'm going to make him pay. Okay Naruto, you can do this. He repeatedly chanted in his head. I just have to show them a good time. Stealing his resolve, he knocked on the door and Anko. Hello hubby Haim. He greeted, getting a blush from Anko. I brought flowers. Hello Foxy-kun. Greeted Anko as she took the flowers. Well, come in and we can get down to business. Down to business? He asked. What do you mean? Well, what do you think men and women do? She asked with a perverted leer. Naruto's face put a tomato to shame. Anko-chan, I don't think I'm old enough for that. There is a motto many shinobi live by. She spoke in. Old enough to kill, then you're old enough to drink and have sex. We're not well enough into a relationship for that. He tried. Anko saw that he honestly wasn't in this for the sex. He wants to just have a relationship. I guess I'll throw him a bone. Fine. She spoke. But if we're going anywhere, I want you to drop the henge. He did so happily. It made him feel accepted. What will we be doing? She was honestly curious. There's a place my former sensei recommended. He answered. It's supposed to be non-biased for us as well, he said, referring to her problem as well as his. Do they have dango? If they didn't, there would be trouble. And red bean soup, he added. Well, what are we waiting for? She grabbed him and literally started dragging him. Which way is it? Grabbing her arm, he shunshined them to the location he was given. When they arrived, it looked like a bar mixed with a diner. It seemed to be a decent place on the outside, however there were very few people around. Fire in the hole, came a shout from inside. No sooner had that been said, a man ran out through the entrance. What the? He never finished. The whole building started to light up, before coming down in a fiery explosion. Hey, what are you doing here? Asked another voice. This area is closed for demolition. Looking around, Naruto became aware of the signs. Well, Gaki, teased Anko, what do you have planned? He took a minute to think but came up empty-handed. I've got nothing, he admitted. I do, spoke Anko giddily, a little too giddily for Naruto. Grabbing her date, she took him a few blocks from their location. When they arrived, they were surrounded by unfriendly-looking people. They didn't seem to pay much attention to them, but the few that did just glared and looked away. Anko, he asked, where are we? This is a place I go to celebrate after a mission. She spoke. As they walked inside a shady-looking pub, Naruto knew he was in for a wild night. Anko was greeted by several people as they made their way toward the bar. They took a seat and waited for the bartender to notice them. Hey Anko, the bartender greeted, what can I get you? Two of the usual, she ordered, but make his a small, she pointed toward Naruto. He was tempted to say he would take the same as her until he saw what it was. It was a drink, that much was obvious. Anko quickly snatched hers and started downing it. A second later it was half gone. Taking a pause, she let out a large belch. Naruto eyed his. It looked to be mostly foam. Taking a single, but large, sip, he tasted it. It didn't stay long before he swallowed it all. It doesn't taste half bad. He quickly downed the rest. We got ourselves a natural, laughed the bartender as he handed out a refill. 5 minutes later they were having a drinking contest. Anko was impressed. Naruto was able to hold his liquor. I should take him out more. Another 10 minutes later they lost count. Naruto wasn't drunk, but the same couldn't be said for Anko. Hey Naru-chan. Cooed Anko. How about we go back to my place and become much closer. Sorry Anko, but you're drunk, he said. I'm going to have to take you home. Ah, but I want my Foxy-kun, she whined. Truthfully, she wasn't completely drunk, she just wanted to know what he would do. Please. When you're sober, he reasoned. Unfortunately for Naruto, Anko knew a sobering jutsu. After fumbling through a series of hand signs, she was back to normal. There, I'm sober, she stated. Let's go. Wait, you tricked me, he accused, gaining a laugh from Anko and the bartender. Hey, if you don't want her, we'll happily take her off your hands, came a new gruff voice. Turning to the source, Naruto and Anko were greeted by an awful sight. There were 3 men, all dressed like thugs. They had made a small circle around Naruto and Anko. They constantly gave Anko lusty looks and Naruto glares. Sorry pal, but she's my date for the evening. He spoke coldly. I hope you 3 understand. I hope you understand, brat. The apparent leader sneered, that we don't care if she was with the Hokage. Naruto was about to tell them to leave when he saw Anko smile. She has that look on her face. It usually ends up with pain. Hey Naruto, do you know what would make this evening perfect? She asked as her smile grew. No, Naruto noticed the bartender lower himself out of sight. What would? Taking a sharp kunai, her smile grew. As fast as a ninja, she drove the kunai deep into the shoulder of a stranger. She then tossed the bloodied weapon into the hands of the leader of the trio. The stranger stood and looked toward the couple, then the trio. He spotted the weapon and stood to full height. This guy has to be 7 feet tall. Letting out a war cry, he dived toward the trio. Bar fight. 20 minutes later, Anko and Naruto were the only ones standing. Even the bartender had jumped in at some point. Anko was happy, exhausted but happy. She got to drink, fight and even eat some poor sap's food for free. He shouldn't have gotten knocked out so soon, she stated. Naruto wanted to remind her that she was the one that knocked him out but decided against it. The worst part was she sodomized several innocent people with her snakes. Let me get you home, Benny Heim, stated Naruto. They reached her apartment a minute later through Shunshin. They stood there for a full minute. They stared at each other, or in Naruto's case felt her chakra. Deciding not to wait any longer, Anko made the first move. Leaning forward, she gave him a chase kiss. It felt wonderful to Naruto, no matter how short it was. I had a wonderful evening, Naruto-kun, she stated. I hope we can do this again soon. She hinted. So do I, he admitted as she opened her door. He turned to leave but was stopped by a large snake coiled around him. Come in, Naruto, she ordered while licking a kunai in hand. How can I say no? He nervously laughed. Hana. At Hana's home, he was greeted by Hana's mother. Hello, you must be the pups dated, Naruto, spoke Hana's mother. Hana will be down soon. Hello, Ms. Sum-san, he greeted. No need for formalities, Naruto-kun, spoke Hana, descending the stairs. My mother hates them as much as you. Hello, Inu Heim, he greeted, gaining a blush, handing her the flowers. I have these for you. Do you know what they mean, pup? Sum asked, looking at the colors, gaining a nod from Naruto. Have a good time, pup. Sum, before taking a teasing tone, have her back before 10 and don't let me know if you're in the house. Mother. Sum wasn't finished. Don't forget, I want grand pups. Grabbing Naruto by the hand, she dragged him out. Once they arrived at the destination, Naruto dropped his disguise. They were in an open field on top of the Hokage monument. In the field was a blanket and picnic basket. Inside, Hana could smell a lot of delicious items. It was making her appetite grow. Let's see, started Hana. Outside with a beautiful view, delicious food. You did your homework on Inuzuka women, Naruto-kun. I tried my best, he said. Sukune, he offered. They were Hana's favorite. She was even more impressed when she found he had made them himself. They sat and ate in silence. It was a comfortable silence, but still silent. Hana decided to break it. Naruto-kun, she called, gaining his attention. Where are we? The Hokage monument. He too was glad the silence was broken. This was my first comfort spot, he stated. I still come here to think. Why did we come here instead of your field? Look up, he answered. They sit in the vastness that we know nothing about. They hide from us in the day while staying in plain sight. She saw what he meant. The stars. They're beautiful, she whispered. Yeah, you are, he whispered, thinking she hadn't heard. She did. Naruto, see, can I touch your whiskers? She cautiously asked. Naruto visibly tensed at the request. He didn't let many people touch his whiskers, and the ones he did were rarely. To Naruto that was a very intimate thing. As he thought the request over and over in silence, Hana mistook that as a no. Sorry I asked, she apologized. Realizing he had been silent too long, he apologized. No, you can touch them, she assured her. It's just, they are a very sensitive part of me. Really, she knew it was like someone touching the family tattoo on her cheeks. Reaching slowly, she rubbed him. What happened completely shocked her. He purred. Oh, my gosh, she mentally squealed, that is so cute. She couldn't contain herself. She playfully tackled him to the ground, knocking his blindfold off. It seemed like she was pinning him but was in fact hugging him. To her even greater surprise, he flipped her over and pinned her. When she looked him the eyes, she saw that they were innocent and playful. Like a young pup, or young kit. Sorry Naruto, but I like being top. They repeated the process over several times. It wasn't long before they were running and chasing each other on all fours. They looked like a fox and a dog playing. It felt great for Hannah. She felt like a child again, not a soldier. She wished it could last forever. But all great things must come to an end. I hope you enjoyed yourself, Inuheim, spoke Naruto as they approached her home. I did, Naruto-kun, she said. I felt like a pup again. She admitted, blushing. She then stared at Naruto. How would you like to come in? It was Naruto's turn to blush. He quickly recomposed himself. He leaned in to kiss her and turned to leave. He didn't get far. In front of him were the triplets growling fiercely at him. They seemed to have surrounded him. The center triplet stepped forward and pointed his paw toward Hannah. I think I'll take you up on that offer, Hannah-chan, he stated. But could you call off the triplets? Yugao. Hello, Uzuheim, he greeted as he handed her the flowers. Hello, Naruto-kun, she returned. They are beautiful, so where are we going? Well, I know how you're tired after Anbu and rarely relax, he spoke, and she admitted it was all true. So I've planned for a smooth and calm evening for you. Naruto held to his word. He had taken her to see the latest, Princess Gale, movie. It was a few days after airing, so it was relatively empty. They watched in peace. Yugao was impressed when Naruto made no attempts to feel her up. He simply let her watch in peace. Once the movie had finished, they had taken a stroll through an abandoned park. I've got to admit, Naruto-kun, she started, this simple evening has been amazing. Deciding to take a break, they sat on a bench. He noticed that Yugao would constantly rub her shoulders. Are you okay? He asked. Yugao smiled at his concern. Yes, just a little stiff. I could give you a shoulder rub, he offered, if you don't mind. If you do, I totally understand. She thought the offer over in her head. He seems to want to help. He hasn't made any perverted attempts. I'll trust him. Sure, she answered. Turning so that she wasn't facing him, they began. He started by giving gentle rubs and kneads. These earned groans of pleasure from Yugao. With these encouragements, he added a bit of pressure and the groans grew louder. Naruto, would you mind adding a little chakra? She requested. I don't mind, but my chakra isn't good, he offered. My chakra destroys while my blood heals. Oh, she had forgotten about the fox. I could use that, he offered. Why, your blood? Yes, but, he trailed off. But what? You'll need to take off your shirt. He flinched and brought his hands up for defense. Not the face. Relax, I'm not going to hit you, Naruto, she assured him. I've already taken my shirt off. When did you? He asks. Why, you're wearing a blindfold, she explained. As long as it stays on, then I know you aren't a pervert. Don't worry, he promised, it'll stay on. Pulling out a kunai, he made a small but deep cut on each hand. He let the blood fill his hand before the wound healed. They close faster now. Began to rub around where she felt the tensest. The groans increased further as the blood healed the pain. Naruto-kun, called Yugao. Yes, he asked. Instead of answering, she simply turned toward him. Because of the blindfold, he wasn't aware of the expression on her face. Leaning forward, she gave him a deep kiss. It was a complete surprise to Naruto, but he loved it. Before he knew it, she had knocked him to the ground. Removed his blindfold, and some of their clothes. Yugao-chan, he gasped, you're moving a bit too fast. Shish, she shushed him. But Yugao, she silenced him by drawing a kunai. And slamming down, beside his head, she drew a second one. You were saying, she asked. Nothing, Kurenai. Hello, Beniheim, he greeted, handing the flowers over. Hell, Naruto-kun, she greeted with a smile. What have you planned? I was thinking a nice dinner, he stated. There is a place that makes great seafood. Taking his arm, they shunshined away. They appeared in front of a small, casual restaurant. Hello, I'd like a table for two, requested Naruto. Table for one coming right up. The greeter spoke with a sneer. If you would please follow me, miss. I think you misheard him, spoke Kurenai. He said a table for two, she spoke with emphasis. I'm sorry, miss, but we don't serve. He seemed to think of a right word, that. He pointed as if accusing. It would be bad for business. I see, spoke Naruto. Time to gather my first bit of fear. Removing his blindfold, he allowed his new eyes to be seen. Seeing the fear in the greeter, he decided to take it up a bit. He allowed his hinge to unravel, slowly for added affect. He gave his best feral smile. It would have made Anko proud. Now about that table, he stated coldly. Tea table for two, coming up. They were quickly seated and abandoned by the greeter. The waiter, after seeing the look, took their orders and disappeared. As he attempted to reapply his disguise, but was stopped. I want the real you, she stated. It was not a request. What do we have here? Came a new voice. Turning to the source, they saw Asuma Sarutobi, son of Hiruzen Sarutobi. Hello Asuma-ku-san. She quickly corrected. Naruto, this is my friend Asuma, she said, getting a raised eyebrow from Asuma. Nice to meet you Naruto, he greeted, ignoring Naruto's appearance. You don't mind if I join you, do you? No, great, he said, pulling up a chair before either could answer. It's not as if this is a date, is it? Actually, it is, corrected Kurenai. What? Asuma was in total shock. But he. Later Asuma, stated Kurenai fiercely, we'd like to enjoy our date. She really hoped he caught the hint. He didn't. How did you two meet? He asked. I'm trying to teach him a bit on genjutsu, she answered. Genjutsu, huh? He thought on it. Wouldn't you prefer ninjutsu? Or even taijutsu? It seemed reasonable with all the chakra and stamina Naruto was said to possess. It was well known from his prank sprees. Actually, I've seen how useful genjutsu is firsthand, stated Naruto. For taijutsu, a blade can do a lot more than a punch. I understand the blade part. I use them myself, agreed Asuma, but you usually can't use genjutsu in combat without support, time or focus. Reasoned Asuma, but genjutsu can usually be easily broken in multiple ways. Yes, but you also can't use a ninjutsu because of allies, surroundings and even bystanders. Countered Naruto. Also, if the genjutsu is strong enough or the wielder is skilled enough, then those things are unimportant. True, but Kurenai was upset that Asuma was ridiculing genjutsu, her specialty. She was happy that Naruto was defending the art. As she watched the arguments continue, their food arrived, as did Asuma's. When did he order? Asuma then began to light a cigarette. This seemed to irritate Kurenai, which in turn irritated Naruto. If Asuma noticed their expressions, he happily ignored it. Could you please not light that here? Asked Naruto. Asuma took a light look around before speaking. Don't worry, he said. There are no smoking signs. This irritated both Kurenai and Naruto further. Okay, how about this? Tried Naruto. Let's make a deal. What kind? If I can prove, right here right now, that genjutsu is just as useful as ninjutsu, he thought, then you pay for our dinner. Deal, he agreed, and if not, you pay for my steak and rice. Maggots, stated Naruto, fear, here I come. What? Asked Asuma, confused. He didn't like Naruto's smile. Is there something squirming in my mouth? You're eating maggots. Asuma looked down at his food. There on his plate were maggots squirming on his food. The food itself looked rancid and had a mixture of various trashes. Realizing what the squirming in his mouth was, he began to vomit. He wasn't able to continue emptying his stomach. It was as if his very mouth had been sealed shut. It didn't stop the puke from filling up. Looking toward Naruto, he saw a deformed face. It seemed to be a meld, a fox and a man. The shock was too much for him. Jumping from his seat, he saw that the seat was empty. All of the seats were empty. He did hear a chuckling and felt a piercing sensation in his back. Turning, he saw that it was Naruto. He was holding a kunai that he had lodged deep into Asuma. He continued to twist the blade, drawing out the agony in the junin. Naruto then raised his hand and made to punch Asuma in the face. Attempting to block, Asuma raised his arms. He never felt the blow come. Opening his eyes, he saw that he was still sitting at the table. Naruto was giving an attempted, and failed, innocent look. Kurenai only sat back with a smug expression on her face. What was that about genjutsu, Asuma? She asked. Also, I'll have you know we changed our orders. She chuckled. It wasn't cheap. How did he do that? He asked. I never even saw him weave any hand signs. He looked at them before her words sunk in. When did you two order and eat? I was out for only a few seconds. There weren't any hand signs. Naruto admitted, and with genjutsu time becomes irrelevant. That kind of genjutsu takes years of experience. Asuma shouted. Or just a great teacher, countered Naruto. Kurenai blushed at the compliment. I had a student that was as very eager to learn. Their eyes met and they shared a blush. Kurenai felt like a girl on her first date. Naruto was a boy on his first date. A deal is a deal, Asuma admitted before reaching around his pockets. Oh dear, it seems I've forgotten my wallet. He spoke trying to be sly. Well, that's too bad for you, spoke Naruto with a smile, because we've already left. With that, both Kurenai and Naruto faded out of reality. Sir, I was told to give you the bill for your companions, spoke the waiter. Looking at the bill, Asuma felt his heart stop. She wasn't kidding when she said it wasn't cheap. He looked at his cigarette. If I smoke my whole pack, now will it kill me and keep me from paying? There is only one way to find out. Somewhere in some park, Kurenai and Naruto were sharing a laughing fit. When they regained control of themselves, they began walking toward her apartment. Oh Naruto-kun, that was truly hilarious, she spoke. Where did you learn to do that? I used what you tried to teach me in those scrolls, he explained. I then added a little change. Well, it was amazing, she stated. You taught him not to underestimate genjutsu, and I'm sorry he ruined our evening. I'm sorry that he ruined our date, stated Naruto in a sadder tone. It's okay, she assured. Honestly, well, I'd feel much better if I could make it up to you, he stated. I know, look that way. He gestured toward the sky. Looking in the direction, she saw something that truly amazed her. A sunset. She watched as the village was illuminated by the setting fireball. It was as if the sun was trapped in a state of orange and crimson perfection. He did this for me, she thought to herself in amazement. The raw beauty was overwhelming. Kurenai couldn't stop the single tear that escaped from her eye. And like that, it was gone. Sorry, I couldn't hold it any longer, panted Naruto. I need more practice. He then saw her tear-stricken face. Oh no, Kurenai-chan, what's wrong? She looked at him and smiled. He really cares, she thought. Nothing is wrong, Naruto-kun, she assured him. I didn't mean to make you cry. He was cut off by a finger to the lip. Kurenai then leaned in and gave him a chaste kiss. She then deepened it as their tongues fought for supremacy. And like the genjutsu, it came to an end all too quickly. Naruto-kun, she asked, would you like to come in for some coffee? Now Naruto wasn't the smartest, but even he knew what she meant. There would be no coffee if he entered. I'm not a coffee per. He stopped at the scene in front of him. Kurenai was staring blankly at him, as if dead. Her hair seemed to be moving on its own. The shadows seemed to crawl around her. This all made her crimson eyes all the more vivid. Naruto-kun, she stated coldly, I'm sure you will love some of my coffee. See, coffee sounds great, he spoke. Next day, Anko. Morning, Naruto-kun, greeted Anko as she watched Naruto awake only seconds after her. How are you this morning? I'm fine, hubby. And you? He asked. Good, but she trailed off. But what? Naruto asked. There is something I want to try, she explained, and so far no man has wanted to even give it a try. Well, what is it? He asked. I'll prove I'm not like other men, he stated. Oh, you have Foxy-kun, she admitted, again and again and again. She snickered. But what I want to try is a jutsu for what we've been doing. Sure. He was open for more of last night. Great, she squealed in joy. Trouser snake jutsu, I should not have to explain this. Naruto proceeded to stare at Anko. He then made a dash for the front door. Unfortunately, it was blocked by a mass of snakes. The front was blocked and behind was Anko. Only one option left. He jumped out the window. They always run. One of Anko's snakes spoke. Yeah, guess I'll go see how the other dates went. Hana, I'll be getting those grand pups in no time, thought Sum before noticing the silence. They finally stopped. Finally, cried several members of the family. As the people laid themselves down to sleep, they felt bliss. Time for some well-deserved rest before work. Ring, ring, ring. The alarm clocks went off. It was time to begin another day of work. Several of the family members began to cry. All they wanted was to get some sleep. As Naruto and Hana stepped out of Hana's room, they were greeted by several faces. Sum, who was looking at Naruto and Hana in great interest. Kiba, who eyed them both in disbelief. Several Inuzuka men in envy. Several Inuzuka women in jealousy. Sume spoke first. I want to name some of the grand pups. Dobi, shouted Kiba. What are you doing here? He looked at Hana, and with my sister. Hey, don't blame me, spoke Naruto. Blame the triplets, they forced me to stay. The triplets themselves were regretting their actions. They, like all present, didn't get any sleep. Sika Makumaru, ordered Kiba. Okay, I can't fight him because he's Hana's brother. What can I do? Naruto did what any man would do when faced with his predicament. He ran like the devil was after him. Get back here, Uzumaki, roared Kiba. You'll pay for defiling my sister and keeping the clan up all night. I guess I'll go meet the girls, thought Hana. Yugao. When Naruto awoke, he noticed that he was in an empty bed. When did we leave the park? There was, however, a note and a scroll. Dear Naruto-kun, have Anbu meeting then meeting with the girls. Feel free to raid fridge then practice katas in scroll. Yugao. P.S. from Anko. No, 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 dodge. Kurenai. Kurenai awoke to an empty bed. She looked around the room and saw that his cloths were gone as well. She felt a great pain in her heart. No, he's just like the rest. The tears of the betrayal she felt just fell. Kurenai-chan, you awake? Asked Naruto from nowhere. I made breakfast. He noticed her teary face. Is everything okay? Yes, Naruto-kun. She answered quickly. But I can't eat. I have to meet the girls. I can't believe I doubted him. Girls. They headed to their usual meeting spot. When they arrived, they noticed that each of them had a certain glow. It was one they themselves were familiar with, and were experiencing. They each pointed a finger at another and shouted, "You slept with Naruto-kun," they accused of each other. They eyed each other before breaking. Those hands, spoke Yugao. That body, spoke Kurenai. That size, spoke Anko. That stamina, spoke Hana. That tongue, they spoke as one. They then sat around each other as they each recounted their dates with Naruto. Each kunoichi began going into their more graphic night activities, which happened to go early into the morning. They were interrupted by a cough, 3 to be exact. Hello girls, spoke Hayate eyeing Yugao. We were just wondering why you were sleeping with Naruto, continued Iruka toward Anko. When you are supposed to be, Asuma to Kurenai. Dating us. They finished as one. We can explain. They said, C-rank mission. Ever since Naruto changed, his training was upped. He didn't mind. In fact, he was happy. His progress was what most considered genius. Naruto, however, wouldn't take that kind of credit. He gave credit to his sensei and his longtime companion. They never questioned Naruto on his change after that. They didn't care. They trusted him. They also trained him in stuff outside of combat. Hana was happy to finally have something to train Naruto in. His newly heightened senses, it was perfect for her. There were basic manners and politics taught by Kurenai. To his misery, there was human anatomy by Anko and basic sealing. Yugao taught Naruto about a lot of the village's laws. Ever since he learned genjutsu, his pranks have increased. Naruto's relationship with his sensei has also been amazing. They kept it mostly a secret from the general populace to avoid the hate. Kiba kept silent so many wouldn't know that he was dating Hana. They would keep each other company in public, though he kept his henge on. He also kept his blindfold on to help him with his sensing. He had improved greatly without a proper teacher. The Hokage was aware of his new changes and abilities. At first he nearly had a heart attack, much to the fox's delight. Naruto made him promise to keep it a secret until he was ready to reveal it. However, neither the Hokage nor his senseis knew of the fear collecting. They also didn't that he was receiving extra training from the fox. They were some of the few people he didn't want fear from. When he wasn't with the mistresses, or ice queens, as the male populace named them, he kept busy. He often trained with Team 9. Ten and Lee were very fond of Naruto. The Hyuga was another story. Neji seemed to think Naruto was a weakling. He tried to challenge Naruto to a fight, often insulting him. Naruto would just ignore him and act as if the Hyuga was beneath him. He often thanked his sensei for teaching him to control his emotions. Even when he slept, he was busy. He would often spend this time with Kyubi. The fox had taught Naruto a lot of genjutsu, even taught him a bit of kenjutsu. When he awoke he instantly started training in everything. I love clones. The fox taught Naruto more about his new bloodline. The more fear he gathered, the more powerful both would become. His illusions would become stronger and more realistic to the victim, and he would also become stronger and faster. If he looked someone in the eyes he could find their worst fears. However, he could only use fox genjutsu with Kyuubi's chakra. When he gathered enough he could use his skill without limit. When he wasn't training himself he trained the Konohamaru Corps. He hadn't taught them any jutsu. He did help increase their speed, stamina and stealth. They were now physically better than Sakura. They had collected a lot of fear but nowhere near enough. He needed to gather true despair. Training wasn't all he did. When with his heims he would relax, often giving them massages or taking them on dates. There was however a major downer in his happiness. Naruto Baka, screamed Sakura, pay attention. His team, and he used that title loosely. They were no team of his. If any, his would be Team 9 minus Neji. Naruto had to deal with his team's insults and constant ridicule. His sensei would ignore it and him. He has also neglected to teach Naruto anything, often favoring the Uchiha. Sakura just sat on the sidelines doing nothing but praising Sasuke and ridiculing Naruto. Not that he showed much. He held everything back during their team bonding, exercise and training. He would bide his time to show them what I can really do. He couldn't wait. He even continued his sensor training, not even putting a genjutsu over the blindfold. Alright, what mission do you want today? Asked their leader. We have babysitting, gardening, catching too. Please don't say that cat's name, begged Naruto. Can't we get a real mission, not these chores? Naruto, you are still fresh genin, ranted Iruka. Taking a higher mission will require months of experience, and hey, are you listening? Old man, shouted Naruto, if I don't get a real mission I'll teach your paper to multiply. The Hokage paled at the threat. He was sure Naruto could and would do it. Naruto, spoke an uncaring Kakashi, you shouldn't threaten your superiors. Especially one adobe like you couldn't go through with, spoke the arrogant Uchiha. Hokage-sama, spoke Naruto in a lower tone, I've already taught the paper shadow clone jutsu. Looking at his desk, everyone noticed that the paper had multiplied. It was so much that the stacks couldn't keep balance. They soon fell over and he couldn't tell which he finished and which he still had to do. Iruka, get them an S-rank mission, ordered the village leader, get it now or else, he was cut off. Hokage-sama, shouted the Chunin in disbelief, they are genin. Right. The old leader agreed, I lost my head for a second, I have AC ranked. He stated, send in the bridge builder. At his order an old man walked in. He seemed to be drunk and continued to drink sake. He eyed the genin. These are the snot-nosed brats who are supposed to watch me. He asked. They look like they'll wet themselves and run at the first sign of danger. He eyed them closely, especially the short, blonde one. Everyone was surprised when they didn't have to restrain Naruto. He simply looked at the client and stated, we are shinobi, we are meant to be deceiving. He used his best Anko smile, but if you want sinister then just say so. The minute he saw Naruto's smile he nearly wet himself. Many of the occupants felt the same way. And no thanks. He readjusted himself. I'm the super bridge builder Tazuna, you are to protect me with your lives. Don't worry Tazuna-san, stated Kakashi, I'm a Junin and Sasuke here is my best student. We can handle anything. Naruto and the Hokage frowned at the statement. It was the sign of a teacher playing favorites. I'll have to have a talk with Kakashi. Alright, Team 7 inches, called the Hokage, you leave for your mission in an hour, so go prepare. They left. Wait Naruto. He called. The papers are still multiplying. It was too late, Naruto was already gone. Iruka, help. The aged leader begged. Iruka looked as the number papers grew and grew by the second. It was truly maddening. He didn't want a part in it. I wonder how Anko is doing. With that thought he decided to go for a walk, a long walk. It had only taken Naruto 10 minutes to prepare for his mission. He had already prepared a scroll of all he needed. An hour later they were in front of the gate. Well, it looks like the Dobi forgot to pack, chided Sasuke. Baka, now we have to wait for you to go pack, added the Uchiha's pet. Actually I have everything sealed away, stated Naruto showing the scroll, keeps me from carrying a bulky bag everywhere. He pointed to their bags. They couldn't think of a comeback for his statement. Naruto, that's a bit advanced for a genin, stated Kakashi. Where did you? Who are you? Asked Naruto. What do you mean? Asked Kakashi. You're on time, spoke Sakura in disbelief. Just head out. He ordered on time once and they think I'm a stranger. The trip was mostly uneventful. The only thing interesting was that Naruto was silent. Hey Baka, why are you so quiet? Asked Sakura. If you're thinking then don't, you'll only hurt yourself. He was about to respond when he saw a puddle. Kurenai-chan would be so insulted if she saw that. He stated. What are you talking about, Baka? Saw what? Asked Sakura louder than needed. And who was Kurenai? Everyone just ignored her. As they passed the puddle, two mist shinobi jumped out. The duo made their way toward Kakashi, surrounding him with their shuriken-chained claw gauntlet. With a mighty pull they severed the Junin to pieces. Sakura saw this and started screaming. One down, spoke the first. More to go, finished the second. They ran for Tazuna but Naruto jumped in way to protect the client. The closest struck with his claws into Naruto. With a mighty tug he disemboweled the blonde. The lifeless body collapsed as his innards fell to the ground. They made their way toward Tazuna, only to be close-lined by Kakashi. The Demon Brothers, two Chunin-ranked mist ninja. With great speed he restrained both of them out and tied them up. Sensei, cried Sakura, you're alive. She looked toward the body, only to see logs. You used replacement. She stated. Yes, but your friend died, stated Tazuna pointing to the remains on Naruto. Who cares about that dobi? Asked Sasuke. He only slowed me down. Yeah, he only got in between me and Sasuke-kun, stated Sakura. He's better off dead. How can you allow them to speak like that of their teammate? Asked Tazuna. He died to protect me. He wasn't even an adequate shinobi, stated the sensei. He won't be missed. It's nice to see what you think of me, stated Naruto's walking from behind a tree, Mateem and sensei. Dobi, how are you alive? Howled Sasuke. We saw you get gutted. Naruto said nothing. He just glared at them as walked toward his team. Good thing he had control or he might have sent them into a nightmare. Naruto, Baka, you answer Sasuke-kun now, ordered Sakura. Or else what, Haruno? He asked with such venom. You aren't even a threat to an academy student. This caught everyone, minus Tazuna, by surprise. Naruto never bad-mouthed Sakura, even as he started acting strange. In a moment of rage Sakura charged Naruto with a raised fist. Naruto, seeing her attack, simply back-slapped her. The blow caught her across the face and knocked her a few feet across the ground. She sat on the ground in disbelief. She stared up at Naruto and even though she couldn't see his eyes she could feel them. Enough is enough, Sakura, he stated. I won't allow you to continue using me as a punching bag. The others were in disbelief as well. Naruto had struck Sakura. Naruto, that was uncalled for, stated Kakashi. Apologize now or I will have your license revoked. If you do then you will have Haruno punished, stated Naruto. She attacked me on a mission, not including all of the other times she's struck me. He drew a kunai. In fact, I could execute her right here and now without any repercussion. Why you wouldn't do that to me, would you, Naruto-kun? She asked. That seemed to only make him angrier. Wait, I'll go on a date with. She offered. He didn't even seem to think it over. Sensei, make him stop. She begged, running behind their teacher crying like a child. That is enough, Naruto, stated Kakashi. Stand down or I will have your license revoked for abandoning the client. This was met with a chuckle from Naruto. I never abandoned the client, he stated. Tazuna, come on out. At his call another Tazuna appeared from behind one of the trees. It seemed the bridge builder was ready to make a run for it. You sure everything is safe? He asked, gaining a nod from Naruto. Good, glad that. I could have your license revoked for abandoning the client and your students, stated Naruto, backing Kakashi into a corner. How are there two of the client, Dobi? Asked the Uchiha as the Tazuna closest began to fade away. I placed a genjutsu on the area and hide the real Tazuna, he stated. I needed to know who they were after. Kid had me terrified the whole time, he stated. I'm not going to kill you, Haruno, so stop crying, he ordered. I need you alive so I can continue the mission. Actually Naruto, started Kakashi, hoping to get some revenge. Since these ninja are after Tazuna as you revealed, we will have to cancel it, it's too dangerous. Nice work Baka, shouted Haruno after regaining herself. Now Sasuke-kun won't have a perfect record. No mission means I don't need you Haruno, that sent her back to begging and crying. Please, begged the bridge builder, Wave needs your help, and he went on trying to guilt-trip the team. Don't worry Tazuna-san, stated Naruto, we're going to complete the mission. That is my decision Naruto, stated Kakashi, not yours. This is a C rank turned A rank. If you don't want people to know your actions, we will complete the mission, stated Naruto. Are you threatening me Genin? He asked, his rage at the boiling point. That is a grave offense. No, I'm blackmailing you like a shinobi, he stated. What was your motto again? We will continue the mission, Kakashi strained out. Dobi, where did you learn those illusions? Asked the Uchiha. Naruto made no attempt to answer. I demand you tell me. Naruto just continued walking. Sasuke, enraged at being ignored by the Dobi, drew a kunai and tried to attack him. The key word is tried. Somehow he was on the ground with the kunai gone. It was in Naruto's hand, which he had pointed at Sasuke's eye. Are you attacking me as well Uchiha? Naruto asked, knowing the question. Maybe instead of killing you I'll just pluck an eye out. Collecting fear is becoming addicting, he thought. Enough Naruto, shouted Kakashi, let's just continue the mission. One sec, the blonde, I need to collect my trophies. Well, tell you nothing, one brother stated. I don't need either of you, Naruto stated. Raising his blindfold he stared the brothers in the eye. They looked back. A second later they were asleep. Pulling out a scroll he sealed the mist nin claws inside. Kid, what did you just do? Asked Tazuna. I knocked them out, stated Naruto holding the scroll. My girlfriend will love these weapons. Like a baka like, she never finished. I will end you, he simply stated, cutting her off, and she believed him. The rest of the trip went without incident but was still agonizing. The Uchiha would demand his techniques while Haruno would cheer him on. I sense a present, thought Naruto there. Drawing a kunai he threw it toward where he felt the signal. This put everyone on guard. He relished in their fear. When he went to investigate he saw a white rabbit. This caused Sakura to start yelling again that color is out of season. Though Kakashi. What are you doing? Asked Tazuna. Are you trying to give me a heart attack? I'm going to cook this rabbit up, Naruto stated. Rabbit stew is amazing, oh, and you all might want to dodge. At his words a large cleaver-like sword came hurtling through the forest. The genin ducked to the ground while Kakashi brought Tazuna down. The cleaver impaled itself into a tree. On top of the handle was the enemy. It was another Kiri shinobi. This guy is giving off some powerful chakra, better drop my weights. Zabuza Momochi, stated Kakashi, demon of the hidden mist. Kakashi Hatake, the man who copied 1,000 jutsus, no wonder the demon brothers lost. Zabuza returned, hand over the bridge builder, the nin ordered then added, and the rabbit. This rabbit is going into my stew, stated Naruto, get your own. Taking a minute to think, you can have the Haruno, he said, it's a fair trade, a harmless creature for a useless creature. I think I'll stick with the rabbit. Enough, stated Kakashi, we won't be handing over the bridge builder. I see, he laughed, well let's begin. Jumping away he landed in front of a lake. Hidden mist jutsu. As its name said, mist began to fill the area. Everyone, behind me, ordered Kakashi. Zabuza is a member of the Seven Swordsmen, and a master of the silent killing technique. He raised his headband and uncovered his eye. I'll need this. A Sharingan, how does sensei have that? Asked Sasuke. Well, at least he can't copy my genjutsu, thought Naruto. 8 point. Came said master voice. Larynx, spine, lungs, liver, jugular, subclavian artery, kidney, heart. He named. Which will I go for? As the mist became thicker the fear began to set in. It was getting to all the genin minus Naruto. One of his teachers Anko thought he should be ready for the killer intent of battle. That's it, Zabuza, make them nice and afraid. The Uchiha is about to slice himself. Naruto then felt a chakra signature appear behind him. Using the speed from all of his training, he turned toward the signatures. He impaled Zabuza with a kunai. However, instead of blood he got water. The whole body just fell apart in a puddle. Water clone, huh? That kid has some skill, complimented Zabuza. Your fight is with me, stated Kakashi. Cannon fight but with water clone holding Kakashi. Sorry, but does anyone care? Run, shouted Kakashi. Take Tazuna and get out of here. This fight was over when I was caught. And where would we go? Asked Naruto calmly. This guy would just find us and cut us down. As he spoke, the area started filling with water clones. You should just leave the bridge builder, stated Zabuza. I have no time for kids playing ninja. This coming from a man pretending to be a demon. Taunted Naruto, enraging Zabuza. Let me give you a taste of your own medicine. Handing the rabbit to Tazuna, he stepped forward onto the water. My own medicine? Zabuza asked before laughing. What can a kid like you do? You've probably never even spilled blood. Do you think you're the only one who messes with the enemy senses? He asked. The only one who induces fear. He allowed his weights to drop so he could adjust. Reaching into his pocket, he pulled out a scroll and unsealed a sword. The handle was average, but the rest was anything but. The blade was crimson red. The guard was actually a fox head holding the blade between its teeth. Well, that's an impressive sword, Zabuza complimented, but nothing out of the ordinary. Really? Asked Naruto. Something sure smells good. Realization hit everyone. The area was lightly filled with a sweet aroma. Zabuza tried to cover his bandaged nose, but the smell got through. No use, Zabuza, stated Naruto to an upside-down Zabuza. Welcome to the inverted world. How is this kid upside down? He looked around before realizing he was the one upside down. How did I get upside down? This is the power of my invert, he stated. I reverse one's sense of direction. He looked and saw everyone else was affected before charging. I don't own bleach. That is interesting, Zabuza stated, but not original. Zabuza turned around to face Naruto. He swung the blade toward the blonde only for Naruto to disappear. A gash appeared on his arm a second later. Naruto appeared upside down to his left where he swung. Naruto again vanished and a scar appeared on Zabuza's back. This continued for a few moments as his team watched in disbelief. How is that Dobi doing something I can't do? Asked the so-called Avenger. I deserve that power, not him. As Naruto continued to dance around Zabuza, he felt something off. There was no fear coming from Zabuza. He needed to end the fight. Tightening his grip, he charged forward and struck at Zabuza. He brought his blade into range. He struck. He missed. Zabuza had backstepped. The rogue swordsman then swung his sword at Naruto. As the sword came in contact with Naruto, the blonde scattered in an explosion of black rose petals. They reformed into Naruto a large distance away. As the blonde stood there, he covered his chest. He had been able to avoid a fatal blow, but not without some damage. You're good, kid, but as I said, unoriginal, complimented Zabuza. You only distort the sense of sight. It's been done. He stated. I, however, am a master of the silent killing technique. I can take you out with sound alone and you couldn't hide your footsteps. Realization hit. He needed a new plan. He dropped the invert technique and began to think. Time to put my kenjutsu to the test, he thought. Let's go, Zabuza. Taking the stance Yugao had him train in, he prepared. Let's see if a member of the Seven Swordsmen is more than a title. This kid is still willing to fight. Zabuza was impressed. It'll be nice to cut down another swordsman. Zabuza took a swing at Naruto, who blocked. The blow was very heavy for the blonde, but he managed. Giving a heave, he barely pushed Zabuza's sword back, giving a clear view of the older swordsman's stomach. Taking the open shot, he jabbed his sword toward Zabuza. The demon swordsman merely sidestepped. He then swung and swatted the blonde a few feet away with the side of his massive sword. Naruto stood. He needed to stop Zabuza, and fast. Zabuza made the move. Leaping forward, he attempted a downward slash. Naruto quickly jumped back, but Zabuza was persistent. He tried to defend, but the blows were too heavy and getting heavier. Zabuza delivered a kick that sent the blonde tumbling back. While Naruto was off balance, he went in for the kills. He cleaved Naruto in half. Naruto dispersed into black rose petals and let them scatter far and wide. While they held a distraction, he reformed overhead. Coming down, he intended to impale Zabuza through the head. The demon of the mist turned and with a massive swing cleaved through Naruto only to go up in smoke. Crushing snake constriction Naruto activated. Thank you Anko. Zabuza couldn't move. He was being held by a snake. It began to squeeze him. More genjutsu pulsing his chakra it dispelled. Naruto had already reached him. Dance of the Crescent Moon. Using his clones he split into 3 different Narutos. The first 2 charged from either side while the third disappeared. As the first 2 came in range they each struck. Zabuza back-paced and gutted the first which had tried to attack head-on. Only for him to go up in smoke 1 down. Raising his sword he blocked the second strike. With another mighty swing he decapitated him. Only for them to go up in smoke as well whereas he. On cue the final Naruto came from above. He delivered a powerful cut toward Zabuza's torso. Before he could strike again he too was cut down. As he looked around he saw no trace of Naruto. He looked toward the kid's team and smirked. It seems he ditched you, mocked Zabuza holding his wound. Too bad, well who's next? The other 2 grew terrified. Before he could move toward them he was stopped. Looking toward his feet he saw vines holding him. String bean binding illusion. The vine continued to grow. They wrapped around Zabuza raising him into the air. They tightened themselves to restrict the victim's movement. Actually I was just setting this up, stated Naruto appearing from inside a giant bean pod. What are you afraid of? He asked as he began removing his blindfold. Before he could do so completely Zabuza started dissolving into water. A water clone. When did he? You were good, he spoke behind Naruto, but not good enough. Raising his sword he slashed at Naruto. The wound was a large gash across the blonde's chest. Thanks to his high pain tolerance he could barely stand it. Okay, new plan. Standing to full height he summoned a clone. With an unspoken order the clone transformed into a windmill shuriken. A shuriken, he said. Impressive henge but I'm tired of genjutsu. He then took a ready stance. Besides, you'll never touch me with it. Naruto did his best to hide his smirk. The same mistake my Heims made. Taking aim he threw the shuriken toward Zabuza. As it grew closer he casually leaned to the side. As the shuriken passed him it slightly cut his cheek. That cut was enough. That shuriken is real, he thought looking toward the direction it was heading. He wasn't aiming for me. He was aiming for the water clone. The real target was hit. The water clone was dispelled and Kakashi was free. I knew I couldn't beat you on my own so I freed someone who could, stated an exhausted Naruto. Now you 2 play nice, he stated before moving toward land. The 2 Junin squared off. They began circling each other's. Well Zabuza, stated Kakashi, let's see if you've got enough in you to continue. They began weaving their hand signs. Water style. Water dragon jutsu they shouted simultaneously. From the water rose 2 giant water snakes. They toward above all present. Their attacks collided. It seemed that they were evenly matched. Kakashi will need an edge to win this. They began weaving again. Now, hey no brows, he called drawing Zabuza's attention. Haha you looked. Taking a serious demeanor he called. Invert. Zabuza went wide-eyed. Turning his body around, he aimed the jutsu behind him. Water style. Giant vortex jutsu. Add nothing. Water style. Giant vortex jutsu. Turning to the sound he saw Kakashi wasn't behind him. He was in fact to his side, too close for Zabuza to defend or dodge. He took the hit head on. The force behind the jutsu was too much. It carried the Rouge Nin all the way to land knocking him into a tree. Demonic illusion. Tree binding death. The tree seemed come alive as it wrapped around Zabuza. From the tree emerged Naruto as if he were a part of it. He loomed over Zabuza, kunai in hand. Surrender Zabuza, Naruto ordered, you've lost. Zabuza struggled but didn't have the necessary energy. The demon of the mist gave a glare worthy of his title at the blonde. He stiffened as 2 Senbon needles impaled his neck. Then the fallen nin went limp. Looking toward the one whom through the needle he saw a masked figure. A hunter nin he remembered from his studies. The figure stood beside his team motioning for him to bring Zabuza forward. He did so. Thank you for distracting him, the hunter nin stated. I've been tracking him for a while. No problem, replied Naruto calmly but on guard. You were here for a while, why not aid us? The figure stayed silent. I see. Naruto, stop harassing the hunter nin, ordered Kakashi, hand Zabuza over. Bu. That is an order, genin. Do what you're told, Baka, shrieked Sakura from behind their sensei. All right, stated Naruto, don't blame me when this fake hunter nin kills us. Fake? They asked as one. Grabbing Zabuza, the fake hunter nin disappeared in a shunshin, appearing behind Tazuna. The hunter nin then grabbed the rabbit and left again. No, my rabbit stew, wailed Naruto. What happened? Asked Tazuna. I was ordered to let the enemy live and ended up losing my chance at rabbit stew, Naruto stated. By the way, Kakashi, good night. In 3, 2, 1, at the end their sensei collapsed. What did you do to sensei? Asked Sakura. Fix him now or they'll never find your body, he stated, silencing her. Now Tazuna is your house nearby. Dobi, I demand you. He was silenced as well. Sleep. The Uchiha was out like a light. He put Haruno under as well. No real reason behind it. He just wanted her out. Could you blame him? 20 minutes later they were at Tazuna's house. They had sat Kakashi down in a room to rest. It turned out he just had a mild case of chakra exhaustion. The next morning Naruto sensed a familiar chakra signature. Running to the door he saw one of the most beautiful faces ever. Hell my Heim, he greeted in joy, leaning in to kiss her. Wave, Foxy-kun, greeted Anko, how are you doing? Better now that you're here, hubby Heim, he answered, not to sound rude, but why did the old man send you? I saved him from some paperwork. She eyed him. You wouldn't have anything to do with that, would you now, Naru-chan? Naruto wouldn't meet her gaze. When he continued to avoid eye contact, she laughed. She walked in the room. Looking around, she saw the family she would help in guarding. Naruto-san, asked Tsunami, Tazuna's daughter, who is this? This is Anko-chan, he introduced. Anko, this is Tsunami, Tazuna the bridge builder's daughter. Nice to meet you, Tsunami, Anko greeted. Where is the Cyclops, the emo and the pink howler monkey? Upstairs, she answered, giggling. When she entered the room she saw Kakashi was asleep. The Uchiha was in a corner brooding and Haruno was pestering him for a date. Hey Cyclops, Anko shouted, waking Kakashi, who whooped your butt? What are you doing here, Anko? Asked Kakashi. I haven't sent for any backup. I did, stated Naruto, right after we were attacked by the demon brothers. We don't need help, Dobi, stated Sasuke. I could have handled this mission with it. We ran into a rogue ninja called Zabuza, Sakura answered. Sensei got caught and Sasuke-kun was going to save me, but the Baka got in the way and tried to show Sasuke-kun up, and she turned a glare to Naruto, then did something to him and Kakashi-sensei and me. So basically he saved you and now you're whining because it wasn't the Uchiha. Anko stated. She turned to Naruto, tell me what really happened. Naruto lowered the blindfold to reveal one of his eyes. On contact he activated a jutsu meant for briefing. Flashback jutsu, that's right, I went there. As the scenes replayed inside Anko's mind, she felt pride. Naruto had used the very skills that she and her friends taught him with great skill. He then admitted that he needed help and freed Kakashi. Nothing is wrong with your sensei, stated Anko, he just has chakra exhaustion from overusing that eye of his. What did you do to me, Dobi? The Sasuke asked. I put you under a simple genjutsu to knock you out, the blonde answered. It was actually pretty easy. The answer enraged the Uchiha. How could the Dobi put me in a genjutsu? I'm an Uchiha, the elite. It must be that sword, it has to be. No way that the Dobi is that strong on his own. Naruto, you have been acting brash this whole mission, stated Kakashi. Learn to respect your team or I'll have you punished. Yeah, Baka, shouted Sakura. You won't be as good as Sasuke-kun is. I don't know why I'm surprised, it's not like I just saved their lives. Naruto turned to the door to leave. Where are you going, Dobi? Naruto continued. I asked you a question, Dobi, don't ignore your betters. Kakashi, shouted Anko. What do you think you're doing? She gave a glare that froze them. How can you have such a dysfunctional team? I tried to get them to work together, but some people, he glared at Naruto, don't understand the value of teamwork. That is a lie and a half. I've seen your form of teamwork. She stated. I've known about your negligence for a while now. She wasn't finished. Because of that you have a group of unprepared genin on a dangerous mission. Anko, I believe I can effectively train my genin, stated Kakashi into his book. They've done well so far. Only thanks to Naruto, the one you neglected. She retorted, if it weren't for him you'd all be dead. Why do you care so much about the baka? Sakura asked. It's like you're his girlfriend or something. I am, stated Anko. What? Shouted everyone in shock. You're dating Naruto. Naruto has a girlfriend. Come on Naru-chan, called Anko, you can give me a full body massage. Wait Dobi, Sasuke called. I demand you give me that sword and the claws from the demon brothers. He held his hand out. Someone like me could use them much better than you. Hell no, stated Naruto, rage building. This sword is mine and the claws are for my other girlfriend. Other girlfriend? They asked. You're nothing but a pervert, screeched Sakura. That's probably my fault, admitted Anko, but it wasn't me alone. Women, I demand you take his weapons and give them to me, ordered Sasuke. I deserve them more than an abandoned nobody. Naruto has had enough. He was used to insults, but doing so to his family was his breaking point. He began reaching for his blindfold. Sasuke Uchiha, he growled, what you're afraid of? Naruto, shouted Anko, I think you should go for a walk. The blonde took a few deep breaths before calming. This is going to be a long mission. Okay team, time for some training, called Kakashi, you will be learning something special today. Woods, sensei, you can't teach us in that condition, called Sakura, and why do we need to train? Zabuza is dead, right? Actually I can and no he's not. He replied, Hunter Nin are supposed to destroy the bodies on the spot. That can only mean he's an ally to Zabuza. I did say he was a fake, stated Naruto. What will we be learning it? Asked Sasuke, hoping for a powerful jutsu. You will be learning to climb a tree without hands. How is that possible? Asked Sakura in amazement. Anko had a different feeling, annoyance at her comrade. You're just now teaching you're the team tree climbing? She asked. On an A-rank mission. She sighed. Let's go Naru-chan, called Anko. I was given some stuff from the others for you on this mission. She gained her usual grin. We don't want you going soft in training without us. Anko, I'm afraid that Naruto must train like everyone else, stated Kakashi. He needs the chakra control the most. I already know it, Naruto stated. I've mastered up to Junin level chakra control. There is no way you know that much, stated Sakura until she saw he wasn't listening. Hey, don't ignore me. Why are you wasting your time on a dobi like him? Asked Sasuke. You should be training me, not that. He was cut off by a kunai to the neck. I will choose who is worthy of my training, stated Anko as her killer intent flowed out. Let's go Naru-chan. Anko is still a slave driver, he thought. Other parts of Woods. She had increased his weights and then gave him orders to start training immediately. He was happy to be learning new techniques, but he had limits. Running and dodging kunai while trying to learn new sword katas on top of water brings you to them fast. Why is the world spinning? Did I say you could take a break Naru-chan? She said in a false sweet voice. Yes, he tried. Fine, let's break something. She grinned. I'm going for your legs. He was back to training. Anko looked at the exhausted Naruto and she was nothing but proud. He may not have mastered everything, but he was doing well. He's not even using his clones. He didn't want to be dependent on them. That is enough for now Naruto, she called. No sooner had she said that he collapsed. Dinner should be ready. He seemed to find a bit of energy in her statement. When they arrived they were greeted by the family. It seemed dinner was ready. Naruto hastily dug into his food. His peace didn't last. Dobi, called the Uchiha, what did she teach you? None of your business Tem, Naruto stated. Naruto baka you answer Sasuke-kun, shouted Sakura. Naruto did, stated Anko. You just don't like the answer. Naruto, it would be helpful to know what learned, stated Kakashi looking from his book. We could use it to our advantage. You mean give it to Sasuke to copy, stated Naruto. I won't give him my hard-earned skills. Why do you all train so hard? Asked a new person. It was Inari, Tsunami's son. You're all just going to die. No one can beat Gato. You should all just go back to your comfy homes. Kid, you shouldn't speak on things you know nothing about, stated Anko as Naruto tensed. Some people don't have the luxuries you think they do. You all think you can just come here and be heroes. Heroes don't exist, Inari shouted. None of you know suffering, so go back to your peaceful homes. Suffering? Asked Naruto in an icy tone. You don't know suffering. You live here with a family that loves you. He raised his head, glared at Inari. You have a food in your stomach and a warm place to sleep. Naruto may. Anko couldn't finish, the killer intent coming off of him is maddening. Are you hated for something you couldn't control? Have you beaten so badly and so often that you don't notice most pain? Do you go home every day to absolutely nothing? He stood. Maybe I should show you some of my pain. He began to raise his blindfold, but a hand stopped him. Anko then hugged him from behind and whispered something in his ear. As she continued, he began to calm himself. He turned to everyone present and stated, I'm going to go blow off some steam. He then shunshined away. Anko turned to look at the crying Inari. The massive killer intent had been too much for him to handle. Stop whining. You deserved it, she said. Just because you have it bad doesn't mean you have it the worst. That baka probably made that all up, right, Sasuke-kun? Spoke Sakura. HN, was his response. You have no idea what Naruto has been through, hissed Anko, the trial he's endured just for living. She whispered, all for something he had no control over. Was it really that bad? Tsunami asked. No, Anko answered. What he said was the sugar-coated version. Woods. The next morning Naruto was lying in a field. He had done a lot of damage to the area. No tree was spared in his rage. Now he was enjoying some well-deserved rest. He then felt a chakra signature enter the field. It wasn't a member of Team 7, his Haim, Tazuna, or even one of his family members. It was, however, very familiar. The signature grew closer. Excuse me, the voice called. You'll catch a cold if you sleep out here. Don't worry, Naruto reassured. I have, inside, work on my immune system. He let out a quiet chuckle at his own joke. So what is a pretty lady like you doing out here all alone? You have a blindfold on, how do you know I'm alone? A thought then occurred. What makes you think I'm pretty? No. When someone's around the same way I know you're pretty, Naruto answered vaguely. He then lowered his blindfold and looked Haku in the eye. I was right, pretty. Their eyes met. As they looked deeper they saw each other's pain. Those eyes are just like mine. They thought as one. I'm Naruto, by the way, you are. Haku. I'm picking herbs for my sick friend, Haku answered. Should I be worried that I'm alone? No, he hastily answered. My senseis would kill me if they thought I thought something perverted. He saw her work. Do you want any help? Sure, Haku answered. Naruto sat down beside Haku and began picking herbs. Haku wondered how Naruto saw which to pick but didn't ask. Naruto-san, are you a ninja, right? Asked Haku, gaining a nod. Are you strong? Yes, Naruto responded with pride, but I need to get stronger. Do you have anyone precious to you? Yes, Naruto answered with no hesitation. They are very few. He thought of each one, but I'd happily lay down my life for them. Then you will be truly strong, Haku stated. I think I have enough herbs, thank you for your help. They stood and turned to leave. Hunter-san, Naruto called, stopping Haku. When I said I'd lay down my life for them I meant it, he continued, but I'd make sure whoever hurt them suffered as well. Neither turned face the other. They began walking in their separate directions. Although neither knew of the smile on the other's face. Naruto-san, where have you been? Asked Tsunami. The others have been worried. All of them are just Anko. She didn't answer, so he did. I had a strange day. I was told to give you something when you returned. Spoke Tsunami. It's a gift from Anko-san. He noticed she had a frying pan in her hand. No, he begged, please don't. I'm sorry, but she took aim. Dodge. For a civilian she had good aim. Bridge. Naruto had guard duty. He didn't mind, it was part of the mission after all. He was even able to collect a little fear from the nervous workers. He just wished they would stop quitting. Tazuna called a random worker. I just can't keep working on the bridge. He said, I'm sorry. Hey, Naruto called to the man. What do you think you're doing? I'm going home, he stated. So you're going to give up too? It wasn't a question. He turned to the remaining workers. Are you all just going to give up? A worker who was about to quit stepped forward. What choice do we have? He asked. Some of us have a family to provide for. We can't do that if we're dead. Naruto unfolded his blindfold. Kyuubi is going to hate me for this. He needed to help them. This bridge needed them. He looked into their minds for the cause of the fear. Builders of the bridge, I know what you all are afraid, he stated as he faded away. Gato appeared out from nowhere and stood with all of his arrogance. The builders were all afraid. If Gato was here, then that meant that he was going to stop them. They were going to die. What happened next shocked them all. Naruto reappeared behind Gato and sliced away at him. In one swing he removed the tyrant's head. As the body fell to the ground, it faded away. And I can help you rid yourselves of it, he stated, if you are still willing to work for the future of Wave. Naruto stood in silence. He waited for them to make their decision. Finally one of the bridge builders stepped forward. We are done, he stated as they looked on in confusion. You are all willing to defy Gato, he elaborated. You are willing to continue for Wave. He shouted. You all have already casted out your fears. The builders looked toward one another. They were willing to defy Gato. For their family and for their future they were willing. They cheered as they returned to their jobs. There was a new vigor in each of their movements. That was a great motivator, kid, spoke Tazuna. I just hope it was enough. Wait, what do you mean? Even with this new energy we already lost a lot of workers. I have that covered, Naruto stated, forming a cross with his hands. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Tazuna was speechless from what he saw. For every one worker he lost there were 3 Narutos. Maybe more. Just tell us what we need to do. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, as well as checking out the author on fanfiction.net.